Welcome to the final of the 1992 Mobil Super League. Will Sydney successfully defend the title, or will the Prime Minister's Cup go to Adelaide for the first time? I'm Steve Rebillard for ABC Sport. We're at the State Sports Centre, and this final brings together the two form teams of the competition. Adelaide and Sydney have each had a win over the other away from home, and Anne, they both had tough semi-finals, had to come from behind. Hard one to pick.
Yes, they'll both put to the test in their semi-finals, and I find it impossible to decide an outcome for the game. Sydney, of course, are defending title holders, but last year the winning Sydney team was not based on the same club side. This year it's a Sutherland-based team, so a different personnel. Adelaide, of course, bridesmaids last year. They dearly love to get their hands on the Prime Minister's trophy. They both are the two teams that deserve to be in the final, first and foremost. They've been the form teams throughout the series. Difficult to predict. For me, it's going to come down to the tussle between Keeley Devery and NICKI, and I think that'll be a 1-for-1. But more importantly, I think between Cathy Harvey and Catriona Wagg. Watch that battle. It'll dictate the outcome.
Let's look at the teams. And although Lynn Kaysler and Catriona Wagg were rarely in full rhythm against Melbourne, they were never going to be dumped. Lenore Furs had her best game at wing attack last week, but loses out in a reshuffle, and Marianne Murphy again lines up at wing attack. Skipper Lisa Wilson is at centre, and partnering Aussie rep Keeley Devery in the defensive circle is Corinne Lindwall. No surprises in the Adelaide selection. This has been their starting seven from game one. Julie Nykel and Sarah Angove work an unusual style in tandem, which only Sydney have been able to counter effectively. NICKI Washington and Karen Schultz might have an edge in speed through the midcourt. In the defensive circle, Kath Harvey is now ranked in the top 13 players in the country, and Sarah Sutter is in the Australian under-21s. For Sydney, much will hinge on the game produced by Marianne Murphy, the 23-year-old physiotherapist who is at home at centre or wing attack. She played at junior levels for New South Wales from 85 to 89, and in the Open team for the last 2 years. She was also vice-captain of the Australian under-21s in 1990. Her rival is 21-year-old NICKI Washington, who has played for South Australia at open level since 1989. She's one of the big improvers in Australian netball and has come under selectors' eyes recently to gain a place in the national squad under the invitee program. She works the corners very well. And from the national pool of umpires, Maureen Boyle and Nola Calnan have won the right to control the final. Sydney captain Lisa Wilson gets us underway, but straight away it's turned over for Adelaide. And Adelaide habitually, Anne, have made very bright starts. And Sydney will need to shut them down in this first quarter to stay with them.
Yes, interesting enough, both these teams had terrible starts in their respective semi-finals, but ended up coming away with the win. Sydney now making up for that first centre pass error.
Wilson, Kaysler, and Sydney on the board first. Kathy Gillespie did a good job of shutting down Kaysler in the semi-final, but in Adelaide, Kaysler played very well on Sutter. One apiece inside the first minute. Julie Nykel, as we've seen through the last couple of seasons, takes her shots very quickly. Former Olympic basketballer.
Yes, advantage contact outside.
Kaysler.
Sydney.
Off Sutter's hands. Kaysler, left sleeve rolled up. She is left-handed.
Advantage offside centre.
Look to these players for Adelaide. Cathy Harvey, their goal defence, their captain Karen Schultz and Nykel, they are the guns for Adelaide. For Sydney, Devery and Wagg have been dynamic throughout the series. They're their imports. And Marianne Murphy, who is a Sutherland player, just brilliant through the centre tonight. Wing attack.
Sydney up 2-1. Minute and a half gone. Karen Schultz. Sorry, it was Angove. Now Nykel. This is Schultz in the corner. Nykel marked by Devery. Contact against Angove.
And it's been my opinion, Steve, that Devery, perhaps more than any other defender, worries Nykel, and she's already got the hand out very early over the shot, putting hesitation into that usually fast Nykel release.
Laying on, goalkeeper, pass or shot.
So very clear call from Maureen Boyle about what that offence was. Prime Minister's wife, Anita Keating, with Australian player Sue Kenny. Sue, I'm sure, telling Mrs. Keating all about the finer points of the game. This is the Prime Minister's Cup they're playing for. Mr. Keating not able to be here.
I think they're very familiar with the sport their daughter's playing it, so Mrs. Keating has told us on previous occasions. But I'm sure Susie fine-tuning.
Kaysler, great shot. 4 minutes gone. Sydney up 4-1. Schultz.
We're just stuck to the fingertips for Schultz.
Oh, tried to drill it across court, did Angove. Sydney hands on it.
Play.
Schultz.
Contact wing defence, penalty Adelaide. Contact goal defence, penalty shot or pass.
Lindwall gives away the contact, and there's been a lot of them in the first few minutes. Nichol shoots truly, 4-2. Mark Angove, Adelaide coach there, looking a little concerned about the opening of this match, which has gone well for Sydney. Wilson.
Well, many have branded this year's Super League Adelaide's year. They were so sparkling at the start of the series. Sydney, though, have come home very strongly.
Contact, got the arm, centre.
And tonight it's
Sydney
anybody's
penalty.
game. Adelaide, though, yet to get their grasp on the Prime Minister's Cup. They'd love to make it 1992.
Wagg. Sydney bench there, some applauding, some too worried to do it.
Vantage obstruction.
Angove. Happy to see that one go in. She usually leaves most of the shooting to Nichol. But if she's not watched, she can put in 3 or 4 quite quickly.
Offside.
Well, Murphy making a little use of the elbow then to peel Vicky Nichol from her. Nichol was very close on the pass, but probably didn't require that assistance from Murphy to clear her.
Contact goalkeeper.
Lots of contact here. Now, Karen Schultz first, then Sarah Sutter. They're getting to know each other pretty well for a non-contact game. A lot at stake here. Harvey with another near intercept. Oh, fell for Murphy, and she was so quick getting it on to Kaysler. Had to be, with the defence closing in. Sydney 7-3.
And watch the speed of the offload. Murphy will regather, and knowing that Kaysler's unguarded, finds her.
Obstruction centre. Quite enough, Karen.
Maureen Boyle just issuing a warning on the run to Karen Schultz, telling her that's quite enough.
That tendency to holding is one that's caught Sarah Sutter a few times throughout the series. Arms raised, feeling to check where her player is.
Contact, wing attack.
Washington. Sydney up 10-5, 4 minutes left first quarter. And Ango with some delightful sleight of hand. Gets rid of Devery, and it drops in for her.
Vantage contact wing.
Wagg. Murphy.
Adelaide starting to find the rhythm in the last few minutes. Putting in a goal-for-goal challenge now. Really struggling to find their shooters earlier on.
Schultz.
And Schultz very definitely finding space at the top of the circle. Wilson has to concede room to her.
Nichol found at the post. Adelaide lifting. Only down by 3, and with the centre pass. Washington drops back into the corner again. Nichol.
Obstruction. Break. Sydney. Vantage obstruction.
Kaysler comes out from the circle. And Sydney needed that one. It seemed their 5-goal lead slipped to 2. Nichol.
8 straight for Lynn Kaysler. What an opening from Sydney's shooter. Previously unexposed to this level of netball, as indeed are several of the Sydney players, and it's a credit to the Sydney side to be able to pull through players that are inexperienced at this elite level of netball into such a winning combination.
Near the sideline.
Not the subtlest of challenges from
Yes,
Vicky
wing
Neal.
defence out. Contact.
And just seeking clarification from Maureen Boyle. Wilson takes it. Murphy. Wagg. Two minutes left, first quarter. Sydney by 3. Harvey with Wagg out of play has cross court. Neal to Washington. Schultz.
Advantage offside.
2 back on Nickel. They went to Angove, now Nickel.
Yeah, making benefit. Devery really concentrated her attention on Angove then to defend the shot, which left Nickel quite exposed.
Sydney.
Linwood a little slow to pick up that move.
Kaysler
Advantage offside centre.
must have quiet feet, Catriona Wagg. She dropped away from the 2 defenders and they didn't realise.
Yeah, I was about to say Sutter really needs to get those back moves under control. She needs to put the sprint on backwards and power up the ball. She's got the height and the elevation, but she's really losing some ground on the backward move.
Wilson. Adelaide, after that tardy start, going goal for goal.
Advantage
Lead stays at 2.
And obstruction.
Wagg, Kaysler.
Good reach then from Sutter over the shot. Pays dividends. She'll pull in the throw in.
Neal. Sutter.
Sydney doing well to halt Adelaide's progress. 4 passes and to get it to the mid-third. Adelaide very used to the charge and run, the drive through the mid-court uncontested. They'll have nothing more than the fast break, but not enjoying it tonight.
Contact centre.
Oh, that pass spoilt to the post by the contact.
Nickel
Obstruction
can get
goal
Adelaide
defence.
to within
Short
1.
pass.
And we saw this time and again in their semi-final. Adelaide timed their run
Wing attack.
right down to the last few seconds of the quarter.
Devery doing well. She had back position, but she got up nice and clean. Little tap over the back line will force Adelaide to reorganise.
Toss up between Linwood and Nickel. Nickel wins it as the timekeeper gets up. And that's an important rebound for Sydney.
Oh, bad hit. Wilson connecting with Vicky Neal.
Vicky Neal is all right, fortunately, because that was a heavy fall into the bench. But she's all right after a fiery first quarter in the Super League final. Sydney 13, Adelaide 12. Second quarter begins. Sydney by 1, and just as well they're shooting accurately, Anne.
Yes, they've had fewer scoring opportunities, but they've made good with the ones they've had, particularly Lynn Kaysler opening up with 9 from 11. Great stats and 82%, and Catriona Wagg making no mistakes with the 4 opportunities she's been given. For Adelaide, as usual, it's all Julie Nickel, Sarah Angove injecting herself more into the feeding role than the shooting with 2 from 4.
Nickel called for the contact, gives it back to Sydney after Kaysler had missed at the other end. Murphy. Wilson needs to tighten up on a feed.
Side free pass inside.
Sydney's ball from the corner. Well, it's inside the circle, in fact. Neal had been offside. Kaysler shoots. It's his second miss in as many minutes.
Penalty shot or pass.
We've drawn attention to the fact Lisa Wilson made a mess of a couple of the feeds, and apart from that, how do you see her slotting into that centre role?
Well, she's running hard and driving through the middle, and the feeds, being left to Marianne Murphy, which is the role she'd be asked to play. She'd be there to run the ball up hard and to be a defensive centre. You won't expect to see her take the majority of feeds.
Kaysler, Sutter there defending.
Contact. Shuttle pass.
Here's contact on the arm is the call from Nola Kalnin. Probably saw that. Sydney get the first 2 goals of the second quarter.
And that was also open for Sydney.
And again, an ambitious feed in from Wilson.
Kaiser needing to move the feet then rather than make the stretch to the ball.
Sutter, Neal and Harvey. Washington goes cross-court for Schultz. Did well to get it in. Straight to Lindwell, though, for Sydney. Wagg.
Contact penalty.
Harvey read that well.
And she's disappointed to draw the contact.
This is Digby for Sydney. Wagg making a lot of leads out of the circle early in this quarter. Murphy. Kaysler. Better shot from her. Harvey to Neal and Washington. Easy one to pull in for Sydney. Kaysler goes back to Murphy.
Adelaide doing a good job to minimise access to Catriona Wagg, but Kaysler is becoming exposed and she's doing a good job in goals. Wagg now with a chance to add another. First miss of the match for Catriona Wagg. 5 straight preceding that.
Well, they've made hard work of this goal and eventually... Oh, Wilson got it back. Brilliant.
And Wilson very careful with the delivery then. It was great defensive work from the Sydney centre. Their captain, Lisa Wilson. But Sydney uncharacteristically not able to finish it off in goals. And it's the first time we'd have seen Catriona Wagg reduced to only 6 attempts at this stage in a game. Credit to Catherine Harvey.
Wagg's shooting was absolutely spot on against Melbourne. In fact, I think for the first quarter and a half, she didn't miss a shot. And despite their problems, Sydney by 5. 4 minutes gone, second quarter. They've just been able to deny Adelaide the ball through the first few minutes of this second quarter. Margaret Corbett, Sydney coach, anxious.
It's been a great start from Sydney in this game. Devery doing everything she possibly can.
Nickel with the goal. Adelaide down by 4.
That's Adelaide's first goal for the quarter.
Over third, throw it in. Play.
It's an interesting call for me, Anne, that when it goes straight out over the baseline, having been passed from the centre third, they call over a third before they say call out.
Well, I guess that's the infringement that's technically broken first.
Wilson. Kaysler. Sutter defending. Kaysler too good.
Wilson with the ball for Sydney. 2 offers. She picks up Murphy, who puts a long, hard ball into Kaysler. She'll retreat through Wagg, swings cross-court, and then Kaysler popping to the top of the circle.
Sydney by 5, but Nickel reduces it to 4. And it's Adelaide's centre pass.
And again, it's Adelaide struggling. Sydney getting the jump at the start of the quarter.
Distraction, pass or shot.
Devery caught. She went all out for that ball to try and get the intercept. That, of course, puts you in jeopardy of being caught out, but it's worth the go. She's drawn an obstruction ruling.
Nickel.
And you note, Steve, that even when the shooter steps in on the penalty, the defender that's out of play can't step in with her. They must stay on the mark, so they end up behind the shooter in that situation.
Wagg across to Wilson.
Contact.
Dangerous play. Adelaide now with a 2-on-1. Harvey now rejoining Sutter.
Advantage.
Kaysler.
obstruction, penalty shot or pass. Doesn't matter, you hit her.
Sutter out of play, questioning the call from Calnan, and it's not what the players should be doing.
Push, wing defence, Golford. Golford.
Sydney by 4.
Obstruction, goal defender, pass or shot.
Call clear from Maureen Boyle, arms raised, and an obstruction against Lindwall.
Lisa Wilson.
Murphy having a wonderful field day driving from the centre pass to the top of the circle.
Kaysler scoring some important goals for Sydney.
Watch how easily Murphy finds the drive to the circle. No contest from Neal in halting a run, and they find Kaysler yet again.
Contact. Yep. Play.
Angove out to Washington, looking for Nyckel. Hands
outside,
everywhere from Sydney.
2.
Oh, taken so quickly.
Obstruction offside.
Angove. Devery, no, Nyckel. Nyckel's got a centimetre of height on Devery, but Devery with the better elevation. And I think the longer arms.
There's no question about that.
Oh, Harvey reads those long passes so well. Adelaide can go to work on the deficit here. Down by 3.
Advantage obstruction, wing defence.
And just while we're on Devery, Steve, I'm going to dob a right in here. You'll notice all the players have their names on the back of the shirts, but not so Keeley Devery. It appears an overzealous boyfriend, in helping clean up the rubbish, mistakenly took a plastic bag that was tightly wrapped, which now we find out inside was her Sydney Pulsar shirt.
Oh, that had a good look before it dropped for Wagg.
And delights Sydney's skills. Murphy will haul it in. She puts it cross court to Wilson on the drive, and oh so quick to pass on to Wagg.
It's Kaysler, no one in the circle. Now Wagg drops in.
Oh, lovely work, Catherine Harvey. She actually got up and had that ball first, but it slipped through her fingers onto Wagg. Good clean work.
Kaysler finishes off. Sydney, 24-20. Washington.
Nyckel set up for the drop.
Pass or shot.
Washington not game to put it over the top of Devery.
Angove it'll be.
First shot of the quarter for Sarah Angove. Nyckel sitting on an 8 straight after her first 2 misses early on in the quarter.
Murphy, top of the circle. Oh, sandwiched was Wagg.
Keeper. And a shot or pass.
We've seen that a couple of times, actually. Catriona Wagg draws a lot of attention. It's perhaps a new technique we should introduce called the Wagg sandwich.
Well, she's not too well as a result. Kaysler puts the shot up. Sydney by 4.
Kaysler again in the second quarter, dominating in goals. She's put up 8 for Sydney. Wagg's been contained to 4. I guess it's testimony to Wagg's brilliance that she attracts such close marking. That is releasing Kaysler to go on score.
Keeley Devery for Sydney. And I don't know whether it's a conscious thing or not, but Adelaide at the end of each quarter seemed to find something extra and string 2 or 3 goals together. Kaysler followed that in. She knew she hadn't got it. And contact against Kaysler following it in.
Yeah, good position to Catherine Harvey there. She had good clean position, went up for the ball. Kaysler a little late in the challenge. Sutter did well then. She saw that she was on her own in the circle. She dropped back to mark Wagg, forcing Kaysler to take the long shot.
Nyckel.
And here they come.
Nyckel looks at the clock. It says 2:20 to go till half-time. Wagg.
Again, Catherine Harvey coming round from the side to take that front position. Gets the touch.
Wagg too strong this time. Wins out over Harvey. Neal nearly brought it back for them. Kaysler drops back. Doesn't need the second chance. And Kaysler plays state water polo for South Australia, of all things. She's from Adelaide originally.
Offside.
I'm sure Adelaide wishing she was in a pool right now.
Anywhere but here. She's having a good game.
Advantage, contact, wing defence.
Good strong position from NICKI Washington.
Nyckel. Step against Nyckel. Had to be quick to see it, which is my way of saying I didn't. Little over a minute left in this second quarter. Wagg. Would have been a good one to get. And Kaysler again contacting under the hoop.
Adelaide enjoying success in their rebounding. Sydney giving them just a couple of opportunities to rehearse them.
Schultz just checking how far away Wilson was from it.
Well, there was a lot of jostling going on then. Lindwall had her turn inside the circle, but the penalty goes outside the circle. She takes a place out of play now, and Angove makes no mistake with the opportunity.
A little bit of aggro going on between Angove and Lindwall.
I don't know about a little, Steve. I think this is a pretty physical game. It's about as physical as you'll see within Australia.
Kaysler. So Angove and Lindwall. See how they match up in the last few seconds. Well, it won't come down to their end.
Bring it forward, deliberate contact.
Maureen Boyle, as she can, advancing the penalty, warning NICKI Washington for a deliberate contact.
Well, Adelaide know the timekeeper's up. So they're trying to slow it down, and time is eventually blown. Well, a spirited second quarter, shall we call it? It's all happening out there, as I once heard somebody say. But Sydney out by 4, having led by 1 at quarter time in the Super League final. Sydney 27, Adelaide 23. Sydney by 4 as we hit the third quarter. No changes.
And Adelaide displaying the accuracy in that last quarter. Julie Nyckel with 9 from 11, 82%. Angove really not entering the game anymore in goals with 2 from 3. Sydney falling off the boil slightly with their accuracy. 10 from 15, a 67% for Kaysler, 4 from 7 for Wagg. And in fact, the combined stats for the first half of the game for Wagg and Kaysler are identical, 73% for both Sydney shooters.
As you've mentioned a few times, and a lot of contacts in this game as Nyckel puts up Adelaide's first shot successfully. It becomes a stop-start affair, and the slower the game, I'm sure the more that suits Sydney.
Yes, well, Sydney, we've noted in many of the other games, have played a very measured, controlled game, not wanting to overload the speed too early in the game because they were finding combinations. Adelaide enjoy the fast-running style, so I agree with you. It will be in Sydney's favour.
Washington. Schultz gets away from Wilson, bounced in for Nyckel. And clearly off Angove's right hand for Keeley Devery to bring it in for Sydney. Great crowd here at the State Sports Centre. And they're enjoying this great exhibition of netball, aided by the fact that their team's in front.
Advantage. Instruction.
One and a half minutes gone. Both teams have scored 2 goals in this third quarter.
Vicky Neal doing a better job than containing Murphy.
Kaysler comes out. Wilson.
And you can see a great shot then just to see the amount of body and the jostling going on. There's no clear pathway to the ball in this game.
Contact against Sutter. Wagg steps in. In last year's final, which Sydney won, the score was 59-36 over Adelaide. Every indication here it's going to be closer than that.
Throw in. Sydney. Play.
Devery goes for Wilson. Digby on to Murphy and Kaysler. Kaesler wants better position, and she's won it. And it was worth it.
And Kaesler, I think, will watch her step in. The original intention, I'm sure, was to offload to Wagg. Sydney swing it around until they can find a shooter. Here she goes. She steps on, looking for the offload, swings it back, gains better position.
Advantage contact wing defender.
Corbett obviously satisfied that Wilson did enough in the first half at centre to leave her there. You're hard to drag her off with your team leading. Better feed from her too, Anne.
I think she's quite enjoying the new role for Sydney.
Senator Rosemary Crowley and Australian coach Joyce Brown there.
And behind them, Margaret Caldo, former Australian captain.
Senator Crowley, a great supporter of women's sport. And of Adelaide.
Contact, penalty.
Wilson. Great pass to Murphy. Wagg. Kaesler. Sydney still by 7. 5 minutes gone, third quarter. Couple back on Kaesler. Eventually falls to her. And nearly a held ball. The whistle went up from Boyle.
Well, Sydney forced to play it around. Good defence from Adelaide.
Offside. Contacts. Sydney.
Sydney less frustrated by a patient build-up. Just don't look like they're in a hurry. Wagg, good stretch. Oh, shocking shot though.
Sydney.
Kaesler to take it.
Play.
Murphy back to Kaesler.
Well, Sydney's starting to open up quite a solid lead. Adelaide looking flat-footed.
Oh, Wagg, terrific elevation, and the crowd loved that one. She had to get up high and quickly.
Well, Sydney opening up. Wagg finds Murphy. Wagg on the drive to the post. Murphy at the top of the circle. She'll take the aerial route, and Wagg brilliant in the air.
Linwell's back now.
Contact penalty.
Well, Schultz never moved. So adamant was she that the contact would be acknowledged.
Obstruction. Can they shuttle pass?
Angove. Again.
Well, I think Linwell's been taking Devery lessons. She's really come alive through this series, benefiting from playing alongside one of the world's best defenders.
Contact penalty. Contact goal defence. Can they shuttle pass?
So Linwell transgressing inside the circle, presents Nyckel with that chance. The difference is 6. It was 9 a couple of minutes ago.
Yeah, but of course it's going into the last 5 minutes of the quarter, so that's time for the Adelaide resurgence.
Of course.
Play.
Sydney with it through Kaesler.
Advantage contact wing. Offside. Sydney in the circle.
Schultz offside.
Yes. Contact wing defence. Edge of the circle.
It's very stop-start stuff at either end of the court. Defenders happy to give away the penalties and the chance that they'll get a rebound.
Advantage break.
Washington. Oh, well read Devery. Saw it coming a mile off. Washington didn't see her.
Well, the Adelaide feeders love to play the corners. Devery very much aware of it. She saw the drive from Schultz.
But Sutter at the other end pulled one off of her own. Nyckel.
I jumped in. She nearly wiped Devery away, and I reacted as well.
Sydney bring it up more patiently. Murphy to Kaesler. Wagg to the corner as well. Marg Angove, Adelaide coach, making notes and looking worried as her team is down by 8 again.
effort.
Wilson.
Intimidation centre, both beside.
Makes
Sydney
it
have got
quite
numbers
clear that
here.
when there's a subsequent contact, the first player isn't released.
Goal
Both are
defender.
put out of play.
Kaysler. Now Sydney are close to building a match-winning lead here.
Contact penalty.
The late surge in the quarter hasn't really come this time from Adelaide. Nickel.
Contact, wing attack, contact penalty beside.
Does Sydney get away with this? And at the start of the Super League, everyone was saying, well, Sutherland can't do it.
Construction centre.
It really is a tribute to how much the players have learnt from Devery and Wagg and how well they've been coached by Margaret Corbett and how much potential there was to start with.
I really believe the selection of imports has made the world of difference to Sutherland. If you think of the Australian players Sydney-based, you've got Kenny, you've got Dalwood, you've got Cusack, Finnan, Devery, Wagg. They had only to choose two. That was the maximum they could choose. They went for Devery and Wagg, and haven't they been the ones to go with? Kenny, of course, was injured at the time, but Devery has lifted the defence end. Lindwall and Digby playing brilliantly alongside her. Murphy has been wonderful through the middle.
And Lindwall did not enjoy that. The contact between the teams has been more than you would usually see in a top game of netball. There's a lot of feeling out there. Adelaide want this so badly.
And the brilliance of Catherine Harvey showing itself again.
On the whistle.
The umpire's just trying to keep a check on this game.
Move it down, please.
They want to
No
see the
more
skills
late stuff,
displayed.
Thank you. Wing attack beside. Contact wing defence.
Contacts right down the court.
Back on the
And in
penalty
fact, the
flag,
whistle's
back.
really disrupting the
That's it.
flow of the game. The umpires have to keep it under control, but the whistles are more frequent than the passes at the moment.
Sydney have looked up at the clock and seen there's less than a minute to go. They're trying to make sure that Adelaide don't score again. Devery, plenty of time. Digby and Wagg.
Holding, goalkeeper, pass or shot.
Kaysler. So it might be Sydney who score in the dying moments of the quarter.
Both beside, that's intimidation.
Timekeeper is up. Wagg. And three-quarter time is blown. Well, the intensity hasn't let off through 45 minutes of fantastic netball from these two top teams, but Sydney in the driver's seat with a 9-goal lead. Sydney 42, Adelaide 33. And it's Sydney by 9 as we hit the last quarter, and those shooting stats for Sydney are terrific.
Yes, the changing fortunes of shooting saw the accuracy shift to Sydney in the third quarter. Immaculate stats from both Wagg and Kaysler, 7 from 8 and 8 from 9, only a miss apiece with very high statistics. Adelaide falling off the boil, they dropped down to a 64 and a 33.
And Adelaide have made a positional change. Harvey and Sutter have swapped, so Harvey's now goalkeeper, Sutter goal defence. Wagg, well, meant to hand it on to Kaysler, but it's fallen for Adelaide.
Penalty. Advantage, contact wing defence.
Ango.
Adelaide going to have to fly to capture this lead. It's a bright start from them. This looks to be their second, but it's a long road to go.
It's in fact their third. Kaysler. It's still Sydney by 6.
Contact centre, penalty.
But Adelaide have the class to wipe out that deficit in 3 or 4 minutes. And there's 13 and a half to go. So this is wide open. Wagg.
Vantage, contact and offside.
Koesler. Sydney need an opening settler. There it is. Washington. Angove. Nyckel.
Well, wasted opportunity for Adelaide. Nyckel has the experience. She should have looked to the post.
Oh, bad mistake, uncharacteristic from Devery. And Nyckel, well, Devery won the rebound. Sydney weren't made to pay and should have been. Murphy. Wilson has really settled into the centre role well. Wagg. Koesler. Poor shot, really. But Harvey, guilty of the contact. Wagg to Koesler, top of the circle. Wagg looking for a way in, but it goes to Neal for Adelaide. This will be an amazing comeback if Adelaide can do this. Nyckel. The Prime Minister's Cup, which these teams are playing. Sydney, the current holders. Adelaide runners-up last year.
Contact, wing defence, edge of the circle.
Schultz.
Contact, goalkeeper, pass or shot. Pass or shot, elbow.
Devery can't believe it. But they work hard on those disbelieving looks. Sydney's lead down to 6. 11 minutes to go. Wilson, Koesler.
Contact keeper, inside from the shot or pass. Inside.
Koesler cribbed a couple of inches there, I think. And round it goes and drops for her. Sydney by 7. Smiles on the Sydney bench. Too early to be celebrating. Nyckel.
Well, Nyckel coming home strongly, 5 from 6. She's happy to wear the pressure.
Koesler doesn't want to shoot from there.
Contact, only shot or pass.
Sutter, contact on Wagg. This is the style of game Koesler played against Adelaide in Adelaide. And Sydney won comfortably.
Contacting shooter.
Julie Nyckel backing into Keeley Devery.
Murphy. Oh, a lot of commitment to the ball in this game.
Obstruction, only shot or pass.
Lead is 8 again for Sydney. Just under 10 minutes to go. Held ball against Koesler. She bows her head in embarrassment, disappointment. Bit of each, maybe.
Over on the whistle.
Neal. Washington. Angove.
Contact of the ball. Sydney.
Angove from long range.
Contact wing. Sydney penalty.
Devery takes it quickly.
Well, Sydney look composed and sure of themselves to me. I think Adelaide are going to have a heck of a time trying to make up this deficit. They won't give in, but Sydney looking in a good position.
Harvey a bit quick for Koesler. As the ball hit the deck in the goal third. Schultz.
Schultz enjoying a little more space from Wilson as the game continues, but Wilson sagging back with Digby to try and block the top of the circle.
Pass or shot, wing defence out of play. Pass or shot.
And NICKI won't want to shoot from there. She's happier closer to the post. Ango with quick hands, but this time Devery saw it coming.
Contact shooter.
Maureen Boyle's not missing anything in that circle. Kaysler.
Advantage, contact.
Wagg. And the lead is 9. And 7 minutes have gone, and that was the lead at three-quarter time. And they've just failed to really make an impression, Anne. They've tried to step up the pace. There's no room for them. They just haven't found the improvement needed.
Now, the defence from Sydney just too strong. Devery having a blinder of a game for Sydney. Linwell supporting well. Digby very tight outside that circle. And when you look at the other end, they're still able to find Wagg and Kaysler.
Murphy needs to be quick to get away from Neal. Wilson. Kaysler drops back.
Well, that must have been close to a held ball, given that nobody was credited with a contact. Kaysler took her time trying to get up from the ground, then take the shot. Can understand Catherine Harvey having a go at that one.
Schultz, Washington.
Contact in the circle.
Wilson offside. Adelaide ball.
Advantage, obstruction, wing. And again.
Ango, but the lead is still 8. Kaysler. Well, Sydney don't have to hurry with these approaches to the circle. Harvey tumbled of her own accord, and Sydney hit 50.
Well, Julie NICKI is enjoying no pleasure whatsoever. In the last 5 minutes, she's attracted 2 contact rulings, and now the step.
Wagg.
No room for Kaysler to move. Harvey has her cornered, but they'll find Wagg on the baseline.
Poor shot, Sutter down with the rebound. Schultz.
And that's pretty well what it's going to come down to. Errors or missed shots for Sydney are looking like the only things that Adelaide can capitalise on, and there's very few of those happening.
Linwell with the intercept. Read the bounce pass well. Wagg. She has covered so much territory tonight.
And she has grown so much throughout this series. She's really gained about 3 years of netball experience across a matter of weeks. Little known to the Australian netball public before this series.
Play.
And Marianne Murphy, who we've always known as good, has just played spectacular netball for Sydney.
Wagg. And 10-goal lead must be a winning one with 5 to go.
Well, sit back and enjoy it, because the Sydney fans are. They've got their fingerprints on that trophy already.
Oh, Wagg drives to the post. She's sorry she didn't finish it off, but Kaysler does.
Contact, wing attack.
Neal, Washington, Schultz. Well, Adelaide not playing poorly, they're just being outplayed.
Pass or shot.
NICKI.
Contact, ball attack, Sydney penalty.
Devery.
Four with the penalty, deliberate contact, goal attack.
And Ango not winning any favours from Maureen Boyle either.
Well, Sydney very much at home with looking at the Prime Minister's Cup. Prior to it being called that, Sydney won in 1989. Melbourne won the first year it was the Prime Minister's Cup in 90. Sydney regained it last year and looking to put their mark on it again. Full marks to Sydney. They have built across this series from a team that boasted much inexperience.
Anita Keating will present the trophy. In the absence of her husband, Kaysler. And she'll be presenting it to Sydney, I'm sure.
Distraction, wing defence. Contact, goal defence. Top of the circle, pass or shot.
12-8, Sydney have outscored Adelaide. Margaret Putris there, president of All Australian Netball.
Sydney.
And Marg Angove, not much to smile about, as her team loses in the final for the second year in a row. Still 3 minutes to go, but I think we can say that fairly confidently. Murphy. Wagg. Sydney 55, Adelaide 42.
And the Sydney shooters enjoying access to so much ball. Keisler sitting on 7 from 8 for the quarter. Wagg 6 from 8. So frequent opportunities and very few spilt by the Sydney shooters.
A little joy for Nickel. Long shot goes in.
Nickel too enjoying 7 from 9, but just not the same amount of ball. And what a take from Catriona Wagg.
Well, she starred in the World Championship final against New Zealand. And as you say, Anne, she's been in just sensational form for Sydney. Big fish in a small pond, perhaps forced to take more responsibility, and it's really brought the best out of Catriona Wagg.
And brought the best out of those around her. We have to give full marks to everybody out there for this Sydney team. They've really lifted the level of netball they can produce by having access to this type of competition and the type of player they're with. Lisa Wilson making the moments agonising for Adelaide.
Lindwall to Wilson. Sydney 56, Adelaide 43, which is exactly the score when they met in Adelaide in the early rounds. Oh, Wagg took it out of her hands. This is Boyle.
The Sydney crowd greedy. They'd have loved another intercept and another goal.
Nickel gets a second chance after a handy rebound from Ango falling out of court. Wilson to Wagg. Keisler. Oh, well done, Keisler, to dish it off to Wagg again. Well, the result is a certainty, but nobody's leaving the State Sports Centre. They're enjoying every moment of this Sydney win, the home crowd. And your heart goes out a little bit to Adelaide, who was certainly the form team through the early rounds. Coach Marg Ango, one stage, expressed the view that that was because they were more of a club team, that they got the jump on their opponents. Didn't bring in any imports, didn't have to work them into their system. And so they started very well. But Melbourne and Sydney perhaps have caught up to them a little. And Sydney have certainly overtaken them.
Contact wing defence.
Under a minute left. Oh, Nickel. Good stretch to bring it in.
Contact.
58-45.
Well, you couldn't ask for more. The series is shut down in spectacular fashion. 2 brilliant semi-finals. A playoff for 3rd and 4th that had a lot of magic about it. And tonight's game, just wonderful.
Wilson, Murphy, good in the air.
And I think we see a few more players saying, Australian selectors, have a look at me, I'm around. I'd like to be there in the green and gold.
That should be the last goal of the game, and it is. The Sydney players absolutely delighted. It's written all across their faces.
Well, a slow start from them in the series, but they've come home with brilliant netball at the business end of things.
And Sydney retain the Prime Minister's Cup. They led at every change and got away with it in the end by 14. Sydney 59, Adelaide 45. That was a real challenge for the Sydney team and particularly for their skipper Lisa Wilson in the centre role. She's talking with Anne Sargent.
Thanks, Steve. Well, with me is one very happy Lisa Wilson and friend, captain, National League champions. How's it sound?
Oh, it sounds wonderful, and I just can't let it sink in. It's just sort of taking a bit and just really excited for everybody.
Well, I notice you're not going to part with the trophy easily. You must have been hopeful of the win. Do you expect to win by that margin?
Oh, definitely not. Not in a game like this. I mean, you expect the game to be very close all the way down. But we did have a prediction in the camp of 7, so we sort of did a bit better than that.
And again, seeking a lineup specifically suited to Adelaide?
Yeah, it was. The idea was to try and stop their running game by putting 4 defenders out there. And obviously it worked because we did win and we won quite well.
Yes, you did manage to get the odd touch yourself to the ball in defence. You ran the whole game at centre. How do you feel? Come on, honest answer.
I'm dead. It's the first game I've run as centre in a full game anywhere. I mean, to run it here on such a high level, you know, it wasn't going to be easy, but I knew that. And I suppose my defence wasn't as tight as what I would expect if I was playing in the wing defence position. But that wasn't the idea. It was to get out and make sure it was nice and steady down court, and I think that's what we all managed to do.
Well, Lisa, again, another great result for Sydney. They've got their fingerprints all over this trophy. Is it an indicator of good things to come for New South Wales at Nationals later in the year?
I think it is. We're going to be out there going for our 6th title in a row, and I'm sure that with the girls that were there tonight, they'll be pushing for places in the New South Wales team, which will mean that I'll keep everybody on their toes and we'll be out there to kick some more people.
Well, Lisa, congratulations once again. Steve, I'm having no luck separating her from this trophy, so I'm back to you.
Thanks very much, Anne. And Lisa Wilson has played many times for Australia, but I'm sure winning the Prime Minister's Cup will be recorded as a very great personal highlight for her. Netball continues next week, though. We have from the Glasshouse the Australian under-21s versus the All-Stars. The All-Stars are a team made up of players on the fringe of Australian selection. In fact, for the next 3 weeks, we'll have that series played as curtain raisers to the test between Australia and New Zealand. So more from Goal Attack next week. I hope you'll be with us then. 5 o'clock nationally. Steve Rebillard signing off for ABC Sport.